authorize Banks and Engineering to prepare the required MS4 NPDES permit renewal application on behalf of the township. As it says in the motion, it's required. It is our, it is what it is.
So as you might have guessed, I requested this agenda item.
Yeah.
Really?
Nah.
Union Township's MS4 permit is set to expire in June of 2024. The state requires renewal applications be submitted no later than 180 days prior to expiration, which for us would be January 2nd. So considering it's early October here, I'm requesting that, I'm requesting the board would authorize us to renew the permit in accordance with our state mandated requirement.
I can make a motion to authorize you to do it. It'd be nice to actually be ahead of schedule for once.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Wilson, a second by Ms. Linda Evans-Thoren. Is there any other discussion on this item? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All in favor? Okay. Sorry. Okay. B, discussion and motion to authorize Banks and Engineer to prepare an amendment to the MS4 pollution reduction plan for submission to the PADEP for review and approval. I'll make a motion. Anyone want a second? Then we'll go into discussion. Okay. Dupree, Spar. Now discussion. If I'm correct, this is the amendment because we were deficient on that one watershed, correct?
Yeah, there's two watersheds for sure, Michelle. Peters Creek and the Monongahela River and its tributary. Yeah, so we've talked about MS4 frequently this summer, and I think we've done a good job so far this year to meet our general permit requirements. Our minimum control measures, certainly I think, we've met those obligations. We've prepared our annual report. We've submitted that to DEP. The township permit also mandates that we reduce total sediment reaching our watershed by a minimum of 10% of the existing load that's making its way there now. Back in September, our office took a look at the pollution reduction plan that was prepared in 2019, which outlines the recommended projects to meet that sediment removal requirement. And as we've discussed, in a couple of our watersheds were deficient, we implemented the recommended projects in July of this year. We've started to analyze how effective they've been, and in Peters Creek and in the Mon, we are behind pace in order to meet our minimum annual sediment reduction requirements. So with that in mind, last month we looked at some possible projects that we could include in our pollution reduction plan, amend our pollution reduction plan to kind of supplement our sediment removal and meet our minimum requirements. There's some cost estimates in there. Certainly those are pretty preliminary, and I would like to work with the board to figure out maybe what the best combination of projects would be to meet our removal requirement. But I think, in some ways time is of the essence here because, by the end of our permit cycle, which is next June, where DEP is expecting us to have met our removal requirement, and we are lacking behind pace. So I think it's prudent at this time, realizing the position that we're in, to try to make some strides to strengthening our pollution reduction plan and showing the department that we're working to overcome where we stand. So I guess I'll leave it at that at this point. Does the board have any questions about where we stand with MS4 in general or our pollution reduction plan, we're way behind in
You're way
Peters
behind.
Creek and the Mon.
I don't have any questions because you've been giving us, you know, ideas and so forth on that.
We just have to keep, once we get caught up, and get up the chain.
Ideally, Steve, once we, you know, if we amend our pollution reduction plan and implement some different projects, we can then move away from, you know, the inlet filtering practices that were part of the 2019 plan. We can't do that until we're proving that we're adequately meeting our sediment removal. So I think we need to continue with that until we're at a point where we're removing our sediment.
I saw years ago, townships developed in their ordinances for MS4 for driveway permits, and then they got challenged a lot. But it seems like that's coming to a head in the favor of the townships. So it's something we should look at in the future for, you know, it wasn't the homeowner putting in a driveway that complained about the $50 or the $100, but the developers found it very serious.
Sure.
But seems to be coming to a head in the state Supreme Court about the challenges to that.
Are you familiar with that at all, Ben? Yeah.
It is something that, see how that rolls out, but that
Sure.
should be something we should, I'm not trying to kill anybody with permit fees, but it's something to consider as
Yeah,
things get put in.
When you have your tractor supplies and, you know, your
Yeah,
storm hazy
a
homes
minor
Sure.
MS4 permitting fee for,
based on
we gotta figure
impervious
out,
surface.
I've looked at the prices for MS4 for next year to put into our budget thing, you know, the unfunded mandate.
It's a
I
big deal.
also saw that there's some storage authorities now adding into their storage bills. Now, we don't have a storage authority that we operate, but they're adding in MS4, almost like the $50 debt service declared that we pay through Peters Creek. They're adding like $5 to all of their customers for storage authority.
Brentwood, 7.
We don't own our own storage authority, so we can't gather it that way, but
Right.
townships that own their own storage authority
Right.
are going in through the storage authority.
Right. And, you know, certainly there's funding programs out there. LSA is open now. You know, if we have some projects, and we'll talk about that later on, but if we have some projects, certainly MS4 can fall into that category as well.
I mean, those bank restoration projects at 170,000 or this, that, you know, are we getting that?
Yeah.
How to figure out. Okay. So now we're up for vote. We have a motion by Dupree and a second by Spar to have Bankston prepare the amendment to the MS4 pollution reduction plan for submission to the DEP for review and approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Unanimous. Discussion and motion to approve the payment to Redstone Excavating for the following amounts. Contract 1, $100,109.64 for Beverly Gale and Wendy. Contract 2, $260,802.89 for Airport Coal Block Union, subject to the township's completion of any outstanding PennDOT Liquid Fuels Program requirements. I did prepare a folder with all of our advertisements, our bids that came in, the meeting minutes, the meetings that we voted on it, to the agreement with the gas company, the co-op agreement. I asked TJ to review it real quick to make sure I'm not a municipal secretary, I do the best I can, but to review that to make sure that everything's there for liquid fuels is scheduled to come in this week to review that folder. So,
Do you know when they're coming, Michelle? Do you have a date?
it was supposed to happen like tomorrow, but it is now off, I think, for the same day of the week.
Okay.
With the fact that we had insurance company meetings, the DUP consent order meetings, I'm starting
Is that a busy week?
I just wait for like an alarm to go off or someone to call me and say, okay, be at a meeting. Every day of the week I have.
Brandon Clarkson is one of the.
No, he's not, it's a.
He's in
lady
Westmoreland
named
County.
Yeah.
Jody something.
It's not.
Jody-
It's not. What name?
It's an audit, that's what it is.
Oh.
For what it's worth, I did speak with Stephanie Whitlosh today. I talked to her about where we stand with our completion report, waste slips, PennDOT certifications for the materials, that sort of thing, quantities. She told me we can proceed with paying Redstone this evening. We're in a position now where, you know, we still need to complete the completion report, but
Move the actual money from this account
Yeah,
to
but
this
this is the
account.
ultimate fuel.
we're okay to,
It'd be
But we're
all
okay
for
Approve
to
the
approve it
recommendation.
tonight, so that when we do
Yeah.
that, we can do it without waiting another month for a
Right.
meeting, is what.
correct, exactly.
Yes, it can be paid. One thing about it, I know it says about the $100,000 on Gail, Beverly and Wendy Place. We did get a reimbursement from,
There is a
The gas
co-op
company.
agreement I included
Yes.
in there.
we did get a reimbursement, well, approximately 1/4 of that cost was reimbursed by the gas company. Because all they were gonna do was patch up, and after we met with them and they agreed to that, which we all agreed to at one time, so I
I did.
understand that.
I
you know,
did
they get
finalize
paid.
that agreement, fill out the
Right,
W
and that
nines
was
and
about
the,
1/4 of that cost, which was, that was a good shot in the arm to get
For sure.
money.
and I believe the check came. To my knowledge, talking to Mary and that check, after I filled out all the agreements and the
Right.
I-9s and stuff like that, I believe it came on.
So, just one other comment about this. Their maintenance bonds for both of these contracts are insufficient right now. They're not the final value of the contract.
What do you mean they're insufficient?
Redstone provided a maintenance bond to our office for the original proposal amount. However, the total cost of both of these contracts went up slightly. So therefore, their maintenance bond is less than the total cost of the contract, which is not sufficient.
So should we
So-
put a condition on this motion?
Yes.
Saying basically that.
We would recommend that the approval be contingent upon receipt of a satisfactory maintenance bond and consent of surety to final payment, which we have not yet received that.
How are we with, the issue over the manhole lids?
Resolved.
Resolved.
Yes, I was, right.
Yeah, we brought it up to the board.
It is
The board
resolved.
meeting.
Yes. Yeah, Rick Kovach did confirm that has been addressed, yes.
If you could do
He's
me a
satisfied.
favor, TJ, could you repeat the contingent upon?
Yes. Receipt of two items. The first is a satisfactory maintenance bond. And the consent of surety to final payment.
Consent, a short, in surety?
Consent of surety
Okay,
to
consent of
final
surety.
payment.
For final payment.
Yeah. And that would be applicable to both of the contracts.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the payment to Redstone Excavating for contract one of $100,109.64 for Beverly, Gale, and Wendy? Contract two for, should I do them as separate or can this all be one?
Let's put it on one motion.
Okay, contract two, $260,802.89 for Airport Cold Block and Union, subject to the township's completion of any outstanding PennDOT liquid fuels programs, requirements, and contingent upon the receipt of a satisfying maintenance bond and consent of surety to final payment.
Bingo.
There you go, I ain't saying it twice.
So moved.
Okay, we have, Mr. Parrish has made a motion, any second?
Second, Michelle.
Okay. Motion by Parrish, second by Spar. Any further discussion on this item? Okay, all in favor?